The sky over Tokyo is bitterly cold, the air so thin that engines gasp for oxygen. Far below, Japanese pilots push their throttles to the limit. Altimeters creep upward as propellers blur and fuel drains fast. Frost creeps across their canopies. Yet, even as they risk blackout from oxygen deprivation, the enemy remains a distant gleam high above, untouchable. Up there, crews of silver bombers sit in shirt sleeves inside pressurized cabins, breathing easy, their giant turbo-supercharged engines humming at full power. From these unreachable heights, they will unleash thousands of tons of bombs that will set cities aflame, break an empire's will, and rewrite the science of air warfare. Boeing B-29 Superfortress, a machine so advanced that it rendered an entire nation's air defense obsolete. Over the course of a single year, these bombers flew 31,387 combat sorties, destroyed 914 enemy aircraft in the air, and lost only 72 to enemy fighters. The rest of their losses, just over 400 aircraft, came mostly from mechanical failure, weather, or accidents. It was the ultimate proof that in modern war, technological mastery can outweigh even the most determined courage. This is the story of the Boeing B-29 Superfortress, from blueprint to battlefield, the game-changing weapon that turned the skies over Japan into a one-sided fight, forced an empire to its knees, and reshaped the future of global air power. The origins of the B-29 stretch back to 1938, when the United States Army Air Corps issued a bold challenge: build a bomber that could carry 20,000 pounds of bombs over 4,000 miles, at speeds and altitudes no other aircraft could reach. When the first production Superfortress rolled off the line in July 1943, the specifications dwarfed anything in the sky. With a maximum speed over 350 miles per hour and a cruising speed of 230, it could reach a combat ceiling above 36,000 feet, beyond the effective range of most enemy fighters and anti-aircraft guns. These numbers were not mere engineering trivia. They shaped Allied grand strategy. As US forces captured the Marianas Islands, Saipan, Tinian, and Guam, they gained airfields about 1,500 miles from Tokyo. From these runways, B-29s could reach every major Japanese city and return, making a direct campaign against the home islands possible, without the bloody step-by-step invasion of every Pacific island. Inside, the B-29 felt like something from the future. Crews traveled between compartments through pressurized tunnels, working in warmth while the air outside hovered at -50 degrees Fahrenheit. Unlike the B-17 or B-24, which forced men to breathe through oxygen masks and endure freezing winds, the Superfortress let its 11 airmen, pilots, navigators, engineers, and gunners fight, alert, and comfortable. It was also the first heavy bomber with a tricycle landing gear, 2 main wheels, and a steerable nose wheel that improved stability on takeoff and landing. But the real leap forward was the weapons system, hidden inside its aluminum skin. What set the B-29 apart was its central fire control system, a marvel of mid-century engineering. Instead of stationing gunners beside each turret, designers created 5 sighting stations, each equipped with optical gun sights linked to 5 remotely controlled turrets and 5 analog targeting computers. Here's how it worked. Each gunner looked through a small glass eyepiece with a glowing reticle. When he tracked an enemy fighter, electrical signals traveled through Celsin generators and amplitudes to the computer. The computer instantly calculated corrections for ballistics, parallax, and lead factors that normally forced gunners to guess at how gravity, wind, and target motion would bend the bullet's path. Motors then adjusted the gun's elevation and azimuth automatically. With this system, the B-29's paired 50 caliber Browning M2 machine guns achieved an effective range of 900 yards, half again farther than manually aimed weapons and well beyond the reach of most Japanese fighters' own guns. Later models even added a 20mm cannon to the tail for extra punch. The CFC system also allowed remarkable flexibility. The nose gunner had primary control of both forward turrets, but could hand one off to the top gunner or side gunners in seconds. Every turret could be reassigned to another gunner through a network of switches and interphone calls, ensuring overlapping fire and eliminating blind spots. Interrupter cams prevented accidental hits on the B-29's own wings or tail. Before deployment, technicians meticulously harmonized each turret with its sighting station and computer. This involved aligning guns to bore sighting marks and testing the targeting computers on devices with more than 50 dials and meters. The result was a bomber that defended itself as a single, integrated weapon, something no other Air Force had fielded. The world witnessed the B-29's power on the 24th of November, 1944, when 111 bombers of the 73rd Bombardment Wing struck the Nakajima aircraft plant near Tokyo. Japanese radar picked them up 200 miles away. Fighters scrambled from every surrounding airfield, but most never reached firing height. Those that did arrive overheated, with sluggish controls and only minutes of fuel to fight. The jet stream, high-altitude winds topping 200 miles per hour added another hidden advantage, pushing the bombers to ground speeds that Japanese interceptors could scarcely match. Only 48 bombs landed near the intended factory, but precision hardly mattered. The mission proved that Japanese air defenses were powerless against a fleet that operated in a different layer of the sky. From then on, the gap only widened. American bombers drank 100-octane and later 115-octane fuel, while Japan's dwindling supplies forced pilots to rely on 87-octane gasoline, which caused engine knock and forced throttling back. Climbing to B-29 altitudes consumed 3 times the normal fuel, leaving mere minutes for combat. Japan tried desperate measures, creating kamikaze and ramming units, and experimenting with high-altitude interceptors like the Mitsubishi J-2M, ridden with turbochargers, the Kawasaki Ki-108 with a pressurized cockpit, and the planned Tachikawa Ki-94 capable of 45,000 feet on paper. None reached operational status in time. Even Japan's best service fighter, the Mitsubishi A6M0, rarely operated effectively above 30,000 feet. Combat reports show that most intercept attempts fizzled out well below B-29 cruising altitudes. When Major General Curtis LeMay took command of the 21st Bomber Command in January 1945, he changed tactics dramatically. Instead of only high-altitude daylight raids, he ordered low-altitude night incendiary attacks at 5,000 to 7,000 feet. This might have given Japanese fighters a chance, but their night fighting capability was primitive. Most lacked radar guidance or training for instrument flight. On the night of March 9 to 10, 1945, 334 B-29s turned Tokyo into a firestorm, killing an estimated 100,000 civilians and destroying over 267,000 buildings. In the months that followed, similar raids devastated other major cities. B-29s also mined Japanese harbors, cutting off shipping, and carried out reconnaissance and leaflet missions, all virtually unopposed. By the war's end, 169,676 tons of bombs had fallen on Japanese targets. Yet across those tens of thousands of sorties, only 72 B-29s fell to enemy aircraft, and total losses, including accidents and weather, were just 414, or a mere 1.3%. This overwhelming superiority set the stage for the war's climax. On the 6th of August, 1945, the Enola Gay dropped the first atomic bomb on Hiroshima from 31,600 feet. 3 days later, Bockscar delivered the second bomb on Nagasaki from 28,900 feet. No Japanese fighters even attempted to intercept them. After months of futile defense, Japan's leadership knew its skies belonged entirely to the enemy. Behind every mission lay an industrial miracle. Each B-29 required 13 tons of aluminum, half a ton of copper, 600,000 rivets, 9.5 miles of wiring, and 2 miles of tubing. American factories, Boeing in Wichita and Renton, Bell in Marietta, Martin in Omaha produced almost 4,000 aircraft while simultaneously training crews to operate the complex fire control computers and turbo-supercharged engines. The Soviet Union would later reverse engineer captured B-29s into the Tupolev Tu-4, while other nations rushed to develop jet fighters and surface-to-air missiles to counter the kind of high-altitude threat the B-29 had revealed. Yet this is not only a story of machines. Japanese pilots displayed astonishing bravery, climbing until engines failed and consciousness faded, knowing they would probably never even reach firing range. American crews, too, endured long, freezing missions and the constant threat of mechanical failure over vast oceans. In post-war reunions, former adversaries expressed mutual respect. Americans admiring the courage of men who flew impossible missions, Japanese pilots acknowledging that by early 1945, they knew the fight was unwinnable. The B-29's legacy is profound. It proved that technological integration can decide wars, not just individual weapons or heroics. Pressurization, turbocharging, centralized fire control, and long-range navigation worked together to create a bomber that operated in a realm Japanese defenses could not touch. It also showed that industrial capacity is a weapon. America's ability to mass-produce such a complex aircraft, train thousands of crew members, and supply forward bases halfway across the Pacific was as decisive as the bomber's engineering. Most importantly, the B-29 demonstrated domain dominance, the strategic advantage of operating where the enemy cannot. Just as the Superfortress ruled the stratosphere, later generations would seek supremacy in space, cyberspace, and beyond. By August 1945, Japanese industry had collapsed to less than 15% of peak output. Cities lay in ashes. Pilots launched in dwindling numbers, often on one-way missions, knowing they could not climb high enough even to fire a shot. The B-29's steady contrails across the upper sky became the visible proof that physics had triumphed over valor. The Boeing B-29 Superfortress was more than a bomber. It was a technological ecosystem and an industrial statement, showing that in the modern era, victory belongs to those who can operate where enemies cannot reach. Its calm, high-altitude flights over Japan didn't just end a war, they announced a new age of warfare, where integrated technology and mass production could render traditional military courage tragically irrelevant. That is the enduring lesson of the B-29, a game-changer whose altitude, speed, and design wrote the future of combat in contrails across the stratosphere.